Can you make a dessert using tallow? Well, today I'm actually going to try and give this a go and see if it can actually work out. I thought play it safe to start with. We'll try brownies first, and then maybe I might experiment and try and see if I can do other desserts using tallow. Now, the whole reason I prefer to use tallow is because I'm trying my best to do what I can to eat as clean and as healthy as I possibly can. Now, I'm never 100% perfect all the time. I don't think anyone can be. It's okay to have a treat now and then, but generally I always make a point to eat as clean as possible and less processed foods as I possibly can. Like I said, I'm playing it safe today. I'm going to be making a brownie, but maybe in the future I'm actually thinking of branching out and maybe trying a few different other options as well, because I find that tallow is so nutrient dense and is so good for you. Now obviously butter is just as great, I've got no issue with that, but this is just to try something different to see if it can indeed work. So I'm going to put the recipe in the description, and yeah, let's get started. So you'll see here what I've got. I've got some caster sugar, I've got some plain flour, cacao powder, I've also got vanilla extract, I've got my tallow, 200 grams of 70% dark chocolate, I've also got eggs, and what else is there? I think that's everything. Oh, and I've just got to put a pinch of salt in there after as well. So I've already gone ahead and heated up my tallow, as you can see here. I'm going to heat that up a little more. I don't want it too hot, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to break my 70% dark chocolate. Now, all of these ingredients that I have currently picked, I've meticulously gone through the supermarket to find the cleanest possible version of things that I can get, like this vanilla extract, for example, or this cacao powder that I use, to make sure that it is as clean as I possibly get and minimal process. You'll pick up ingredients in the supermarket and read the back of the labels, and half that stuff you won't even recognize. I actually watched this podcast the other day. They were talking about that big arch burger at McDonald's. I don't eat it, but it was just interesting to hear that one burger had 87 ingredients in it. Now, to me, that's just absolutely insane. You should not be eating one single item food with 87 individual ingredients in that. Whereas a burger you'd think would just be beef, cheese, maybe lettuce, tomato, and a bun. So to me, that's just insane. And I used to eat that way all the time. I gained a tremendous amount of weight from eating all this highly processed rubbish foods. Whereas today, I eat as clean as I possibly can. And on the weekends, maybe I might have myself a little treat. You cannot be 100% perfect all the time, but you can always strive to be better and do what you can. So let's get started on this brownie recipe. So I've got my tallow here, which you'll see is already heated up. But I'm going to need to heat it a bit more. So what I'm going to do, this is 70% Lindt dark chocolate. This is a clean chocolate as well from what I've gone through. So I'm going to break that up and I'm going to put this back into the microwave, but I'm only going to heat it up in small bouts. Don't heat it all up at once in one long, what's the word I'm looking for? Don't heat it up too fast. In the meantime, I'm going to get my bowl ready for my other ingredients. So I'm going to need 2 eggs. Two eggs, done. There's my chocolate. Just going to give this a little bit of a stir, but it'll need longer than this. You just want to heat it nice and slow. You could even do this over a double boiler, which is how I melted this tallow in the first place. But if you do it in the microwave, there's no issue there. Just keep doing it in like 30-second, 20-second bouts or so. Let it rest in between. You don't want it too hot. You just want to melt that chocolate until it's nice and smooth. Meanwhile, let's come back to the eggs. Now I'm going to need to add in 150 grams of caster sugar. I'll even do the conversion for those of you that aren't in Australia. So that's 150 grams of caster sugar. Now I don't naturally have sugar in my diet anymore, not this kind of sugar. I usually just eat honey with my yogurt, for example. So this is going to be a little bit of a treat for me even. I'm going to chuck these in with my 2 eggs. And then we're going to give this a good whisk. Now if you've got a machine at home, it's going to work a hell of a lot easier. I don't have that luxury, so I'm going old school, just a whisk, 2 eggs and my sugar together. Gonna whisk this up for maybe 2 or 3 minutes just so it's nice and light and pale. This is the part where you start to get a bit of a workout. And even that's not been long, that's only been like 20 or 30 seconds. You can already see the colour in those eggs starting to change. It is starting to get paler, so just keep going. We'll add in some of that vanilla essence shortly too. I mean, you can already see that's actually come up really well. And that's only been like 90 seconds, I guess. Just going to give that chocolate a bit of a stir as well. So you don't want it too hot for when you pour it in, but that's perfect. So you'll see there, that's pretty much fully melted. I'll just give that a good stir and that'll be good to go basically. That's nice and velvety. That is just the 70% dark chocolate with the, sorry, I didn't say at the start, that's 150 grams of beef tallow. Again, if you look in the description of the video, I'll have in there all the ingredients and the method, and I'll even put the conversions in there for you as well if you don't measure in grams. Okay, so I'm really happy with this. That is a great consistency there. So you'll see, if you were to do, if you pick the whisk up and then try and do an 8 shape like this, and you'll see as long as it falls back into the mix, it holds its shape momentarily like that. That generally means that you've got a really good consistency. So that there, I'm actually really happy with that. That's perfect. Now to this, I'm going to add in some vanilla essence. This stuff here is the cleanest that I can find at the supermarket. So just give that a bit of a shake up, and then I'm going to add in about 1 teaspoon of this. That's maybe just a touch more, but I like it. Just give that a quick mix. Now we're going to pour in the tallow chocolate mixture. Hopefully that's cooled down enough, which I think it has. It's still nice and warm. That's fine. So I'm going to pour that into this egg mixture. Now I'm going to pour it in nice and slow. It's not warm enough to cook those eggs. If you do it when it's really, really hot and you pour this into the eggs, it will start to cook the eggs. So you need to make sure that you don't have this too hot. And if you do, just let it cool down a little closer to room temperature before you pour it in. That way there's no chance of it cooking your egg mixture that's in there. All right, so let's start pouring this in. Now, bearing in mind, I've never actually made this before with tallow, so I'm very interested to see myself how this is actually going to turn out. This could be a whole balls up, or it could be absolutely banging. Let's see. So far, so good. Look at that, that looks great. That actually looks so velvety, really lovely. I'm really happy with that. Let's pour the rest of this in. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to add in the flour. I'm using plain flour, and then I'm going to add in my cocoa powder. Meanwhile, I've actually already been preheating my oven, fan forced, 170 degrees Celsius. That's been on for about half an hour now, so it should be good to go. So we want 100 grams here of plain flour. Oh, look at that, perfect. 100 exactly. Then I'm going to add in 60 grams of my cacao powder. Sorry, 30 grams, sorry, let me repeat that. 30 grams, not 60. Oh, 31, all right, that's fine. These are going to be very decadent, I can tell already. I'm also going to add in, so here I've got a mixture, this is my own mixture of Celtic salt, and I mix it with a little bit of kosher salt as well. But today I'm just going to put in just a good pinch here into my mix. At this point we no longer use the whisk. We're going to be using a wooden spoon. We're going to fold this mixture together. So enough mixing to mix it in, but not over mixing at the same time. I always sift my flours. All right, so because this is tallow and this is working at room temperature and I've been waffling on a little bit, it has set a little firmer back in the bowl again, but that's fine. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to press this out into my baking tray and then it should be perfectly fine to go into the oven, but we're about to find out. So let's see. So this is an enamel baking pan. I don't want to use baking paper in my baking pan because of the chemicals that are going to be in the baking paper, which I don't want leaching into my food. I also don't cook with Teflon based products for the same reason, because those chemicals are really not good. You don't want them leaching into your food for then you to go ahead and eat. So all I've done is I bought an enamel pan and then I've gone ahead and lined that, you'll see, with tallow, and then I've dusted that, and that's a good coating of tallow, by the way, that's in there. Then I've gone ahead and dusted the top of that tallow with some more cocoa powder. That'll help make it not stick, and it should hopefully give it a bit more flavor and a nice crunch. So I'm going to go ahead and put this batter into the pan, and then I'm going to press it out, and then it should be just a matter of putting it into the oven. I'm just trying to even that out as best I can. Now this obviously doesn't look fantastic at the moment, but this is my very first time making this as well. So let's just see how this works out. Proof of concept. Can you make a dessert using beef tallow? Yes, I'm going to whack this into the oven now for 18 minutes, maybe 25, and maybe halfway once or twice I'll just turn it around to make sure that it's good, even heating in the oven. But that's essentially it for now. All right, so the brownie has just come out of the oven. So that was about 17 minutes at 170 degrees Celsius. Now, as you can see, it's a little crispy around the side here, which is not ideal. However, this is the first time that I've made this recipe. So now, knowing what I've done today, what I would most likely do is probably reduce it down to 160 degrees Celsius, and then maybe cook it for, say, 17, 18 minutes or so. But other than that, once I turn this out, I'm going to let this cool down, and then I'm going to turn this out into a tray, and then that way it can cool down on its own. But basically, once that happens, then I'm just going to cut away those sides there. So that's not really an issue for me. This is basically just a proof of concept. Can you make a brownie or a dessert in general with tallow? So, and another way to know if this is cooked or not, I don't have a skewer with me, but you can just use a knife, like this knife here, for example, or you can use a wooden skewer if you have a wooden skewer, preferably. Just stick that into the middle like that, and then when you pull it out, it shouldn't really have any little bits of batter or cake or whatever, you know, sticking to it. A few's fine like that, but essentially that's it. So I'm really actually quite happy with this, the way it turned out. This is trial and error, first time that I've made it. So next time I'll make it a hell of a lot quicker, that's for sure, because the tallow did set, but it's a colder day here today, so the tallow did set. If it was a warmer day, it probably would have stayed a little more softer. But you know what? Trial and error, we're learning along the way. So I'm going to let this cool down on a rack, and then I'm going to portion it up, and then we will do the taste test, and fingers crossed, this actually works out all right. But so far, it smells fantastic. It looks good. I'm pretty happy with it, all in all. So proof of concept, can you make a dessert with tallow? So far, I'm going to say absolutely you can. But let's not call it just yet. Let's let this cool down a little more. All right, and that seems like it's pretty much done. Now, I've let this cool down completely. Now, obviously, this is not perfect. This is the first time I've ever made this brownie before. So this is trial and error. You're learning with me, or I'm learning with you, basically. I'm sure there are much better ways that I could have done this, but this is the first attempt. Maybe next time I should try it first on my own, then try it on the video, but I got too excited. I really wanted to get this done. So next time around, what I would be inclined to do, keep the ingredients essentially the same. Maybe work a little faster with the tallow because it will set at room temperature, but that's fine. As you can see, it still turned out quite well. But the only thing I would probably change, maybe lowering the temperature to 160 degrees for about 17 to 18 minutes or so, and then check it. But you know what? Other than that, it's fine. Yeah, it's a little crispy around the edges there, but I'm going to cut those off. So then you've just left with the actual brownie itself. And to me, I mean, this feels really good so far. I'm feeling quite optimistic about it. Proof of concept, can you make a dessert with tallow? So far, it seems yes. I'm going to trim this up and give it a portion, and then we're going to give it a go and see how it tastes. So when I was in the supermarket sourcing the ingredients that I wanted to use for this particular brownie, I did actually consider putting nuts in. Walnuts would be really fantastic in this. You could probably put in some dry roasted almonds, something like that. Nuts would really work perfectly in this. But I already find that this particular brownie, because it's made with tallow, is already going to be quite calorie dense as it is. So adding in nuts, of course you can do that, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's also going to bump up the calories quite a lot as well. But I don't think it needs it, quite frankly. I think it's fine on its own. Now just remember, this is a treat. I'm not going to eat this whole thing. What I'll do, I'll portion these up into portions and maybe chuck them in the freezer. And just pull one out here and there as a little treat. But at least I know exactly what is in this dish. I know that it is absolutely clean, it is healthy, or a healthier option, should I say. I mean, again, if you're eating this every single day, no, it's probably not healthy. But as a treat, it is considered what I would consider a clean, healthy treat in balance. But other than that, I am really happy with the way that this turned out. If you try this yourself at home, let me know in the comments if you had any little hacks or any way that you've done it differently or any way that I could have done it differently. I'm not a pastry chef, so I'm not 100% on making brownies, but I think I did a pretty good first attempt. So let's cut this up and let's have a look inside and see how it is. But so far, I'm feeling pretty good about it. And then we'll just cut this down the middle and let's break one open and have a look how it looks inside. So let's go with this one here. I really like that. It seems nice and dense there. Nice and fluffy on top, as you can see. Overall, I'm actually pretty happy with this. I think it's actually turned out quite well. Maybe a little drier, perhaps, but let's see. We won't know for sure until we have the taste test. But let's go in. Let's break this open. All right. Time for the taste test. You know what? It's really rich. It doesn't taste too sweet, which is good. It is a little drier, to be honest, but like I said, this is the first time that I've made this. Next time, what I would do, lower the temperature and just cook it a little less, basically. But other than that, I mean, the flavor's there. It's really nice. That chocolate flavor is nice and strong. Really good flavors in there with the chocolate. It's not too sweet. I think it's got a good balance there with that. I can't taste the tallow per se, but I think it tastes really good. I actually really like this. Not everything can be absolutely perfect, such is life. So I'm still gonna post this anyway. But like I said, lower the temperature, cook it a little less. Maybe I can experiment with it as I go on, because I will make this again 100%. This is actually really tasty. It's nice, it's rich, and like I said, it's not too sweet. It's got a good chocolate flavor in there. Just be inclined to cook it a little bit less. But other than that, I'd probably give this a 7 out of 10. It could have been a 9 out of 10 if I'd nailed the oven first. But you know what? I absolutely rate these. Tallow in a dessert, does it work? Yes, I believe it does. That's actually turned out really well. So if you watched to the end of this video and you enjoyed it, I really do appreciate it. I would really love if you would give me a like and a subscription to the channel. And if you've got any ideas that you'd like me to try, maybe cooking with tallow or something different, let me know in the comment section and we can try up something and see how it turns out. I'm always open to ideas and different videos, different topics, different things that I can talk about or showcase. So by all means, check it out. If you like food content, go over and check out Local Eats. You'll see that in the description as well of the video. There's plenty of food content over there of me and my mate Lane and other guests that he has on where you can go and see for yourself. all this amazing food that we have here in Melbourne or wherever you are in the world. Hopefully this has inspired you to clean up your diet and to eat less processed foods. And just remember, living life with balance. This here is just a nice little clean treat to have that you can enjoy somewhat guilt-free every now and again. Thanks for watching. That's good.